Hi, everyone. Welcome to video 4 in the RISE group series that is focusing on coping skills. Today, we're going to focus on self-soothing education and learn some techniques for self-soothing. And again, if this is your first time watching, my name is Cheyenne and I'm the intern for Hood Counseling Services this semester. So let's go ahead and jump in and just learn a little bit about what self-soothing really means. So self-soothing is just how it sounds. It's a way for you to take some control over calming yourself down. Sometimes we're unable to confide in others or seek help from other people, and we are left to kind of fend for ourselves. A lot of us have a really difficult time dealing with tough emotions, and we can really struggle to regulate ourselves and calm ourselves down. So if we can help ourselves calm down, we can reduce the occurrence of panic attacks and other stress-related things that you might be dealing with, especially if you're someone who often deals with anxiety and related things to that. So self-soothing is a way to calm ourselves down and can often be achieved by tapping into our five senses. So let's dive into that a little bit further. So most of us are aware of the five senses, but just humor me for a minute while I review them a little bit here with some examples. All of these pictures over here on the side are my self-soothing five senses type thing, just to give you an example. For seeing, what are your favorite sights? What are the things that you really like to look at? I love being in the mountains. I love that kind of scenery. That's really appealing to me. Touch, touch feeling. Is there a particular texture or feeling that really soothes you? I tend to run very hot, so there is something about holding an ice pack on my head that really just is so soothing for me. So that's my little person there with an ice pack on their head. And then for hearing, what sounds are soothing to you? I love the sound of rain and thunder cracks, but also I love the sound of birds. And I put a little hummingbird here just because they have such a unique sound whenever they're flying around. That's very soothing to me. Reminds me of my grandma, another thing that's just soothing to me. Tasting, is there a drink that really centers you or a food that really boosts your mood? I put iced coffee here. Iced coffee is something that is just kind of like a ritual for me in the morning and really can keep me going, brighten my mood a little bit. And then we have smelling. Is there a favorite scent you have or like a really nostalgic scent that is really calming for you? And for me, that is lavender. That sounds so stereotypical, but I think it really works. Lavender is really, really soothing for me. And it's a really powerful scent too. So to continue a little bit about self-soothing, I just want to mention a few things. In our first few lessons thus far, we've talked about distraction and mindfulness and meditation, now self-soothing. So you'll notice a lot of similarities between these things. The big difference here is that with distraction, you're running away from a feeling pretty much and kind of letting your mind get sucked into something else, completely unrelated, like a show, like I have Netflix up there, like a show. So with meditation, you are very much focused on the here and now. And most of the time, people focus on their breathing to keep them grounded. Now, with self-soothing, you're going to choose something that is just downright enjoyable for you, and really immerse yourself in that. Again, though, use all of these coping skills in moderation. Just like I said with the distraction skill video, you don't want to watch Netflix all day, every day, where you're going to forget to live your actual life. With self-soothing, some of the things that we choose to soothe ourselves with, can be really maladaptive or harmful after a while. Like, again, I'm a huge coffee drinker and have a major sweet tooth. So I drink coffee a lot and focus how great it feels as I'm consuming it. Like those memes that say like when that morning coffee hits your dead soul, that kind of thing. Like I really relate to that. So my morning coffee does that for me. But if I were to drink 10 cups of coffee, it will not leave you feeling that way. You're going to have the jitters and GI issues for the rest of the day. And with candy, a similar thing's going to happen. You're going to get sick, get a sugar rush, and then just crash and feel really gross afterwards. So moderation is key. And if you'd rather utilize something you can't really overdo as easily, try utilizing skills with a sense of touch or smell. Like I used to carry around a roller ball of essential oils meant for stress relief. At work, when things were really rough for me, I'd take a break, sit in my car, and breathe in very deeply while smelling that scent, and just kind of say to myself and think to myself, I've got this. You're great at what you do, and you're going to be just fine. And, if you're someone who has worked in a really high intensity job, keep this kind of thing in mind, because I know how rarely you may get the breaks that you need to feel calm and to be able to soothe yourself. So let's just quickly go over some examples. I know I've gone over a couple already, but let's just keep this going. So for using self-soothing more for coping, think about a scenario where you might feel really dissociated or disconnected. Try grabbing a hold of something with a really nice texture, something that feels really good, soft, silky, and just think to yourself how it feels, describe to yourself what it feels like, and it can just be kind of grounding for you. And then something that I often do if I'm really, really distressed, I will grab onto my arms like I'm giving myself a hug. And if I'm really needing it, I will squeeze like someone's hugging me really hard, or sometimes that might not feel right. So I even just kind of do this with my eyes closed and just kind of tell myself what I need to hear. For those of you who respond really well to like being touched for comfort, that can be something really good. I'm totally aware though, for some people that does not feel good and that might not feel safe. So in that instance, you want to rely on some of these other skills. Another one can be grabbing an ice pack or something cold, like I mentioned that I like to do before. Lay down, lay it on your forehead or your chest, and just think about all of the anxiety from that day, just like cooling down and going away. A lot of times when we're feeling really anxious or we're feeling like we're in danger or having a panic attack, a lot of people feel really hot and sweaty. So getting an ice pack or something can really just cool you down and remind you, hey, breathe for a second. You're not in danger. You're okay. Just take a minute. So, just cooling yourself down can be really helpful. And then let's go to self-care soothing. After a rough day at work, you draw a warm bath, maybe light a candle beside you. Again, very stereotypical. Use a bath bomb or play some music when you're doing that. Or even something more simple, before going to bed, find like a nice smelling lotion to rub on your skin. Just like think to yourself, I'm really taking care of myself right now. I'm treating myself well. Take the time to enjoy that smell and just think about how it's nourishing your skin, making it feel really soft. You're hydrating yourself. A lot of times it can just be really helpful to tell yourself, wow, I'm doing something nice for myself. I'm really taking care of myself right now. And that in and of itself can feel really helpful, because a lot of us don't take the necessary time to do it often enough. So now I want to walk you through an activity. I call it the safe haven activity. And for this activity, you're going to have to use your imagination a little bit. And after I talk you through how to do it, I'm going to go into why it might be really helpful for you. So imagine having a place where you could relax, recharge, and reconnect with yourself without any distractions whatsoever, no obligations or stressors. And again, use your imagination to answer the following questions. Where would your space be, this calming space? Is it in your home? Is it at your work? I doubt it. But is it at the beach? Just anywhere. A lot of these examples are things that I would find helpful, so that's why I've used them as the example, but please choose whatever feels right for you. Number 2, would there be a specific color that you would decorate with? a favorite color or a color that you find to be really calming? Would there be natural lighting there, like the sun, just natural lighting, light from a fire that you've lit, or from a lamp that has like a warm tone to it? What kind of comforting items would you have there? Would your dog be there? Would you have a plush blanket, a million pillows around you? What kind of furniture is there? Do you have a California king bed furniture or bed there? Is that what's comforting for you? Is there sound there? Is it absolutely silent because that's the most calming thing for you? Is it crashing waves because you're at the beach? Is it birds because you're outside in nature? Or is it the sound of your favorite artist or favorite band? What will you do there? Are you going to sleep? Are you going to paint, cook, engage in your favorite hobby? Are you going to exercise there? What kinds of things are you going to do? And lastly, what does it smell like there? In mine, it would probably smell like lavender or homemade cookies, because that's a nostalgic scent for me. Clean sheets, because that's really comforting and feels safe. Or like fresh cut grass, because it just feels like that reminds you of being in nature, if that's a place that's comforting for you. So now that you've answered those questions, jot some of the answers down. Maybe you want to draw that place if you're feeling really, really creative, or really get you in touch with this imaginary place that you've just created. Do you have any of those things around? Like any of the things that you mentioned in those questions, do you have them? Maybe some of the comfort items you have, you've identified are things that you actually have on hand. And now that you realize that, can you use some of those things to surround yourself with some comfort? Maybe you have a bottle of essential oils that you bought a long time ago and forgot about, but you've identified that scents are really grounding and soothing for you. Go get that bottle and find a way to keep that handy if you're feeling really stressed out. So I know that this isn't always possible. Maybe you've created an imaginary place that is nothing like what you actually have available, and that's why it's so soothing and comforting. So you can use guided imagery to kind of immerse yourself in this place in your imagination to be really calming and soothing as well. You can go to this place just in your head. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, try to find a quiet place if possible to imagine this made up, perfect world to calm down in and reconnect with yourself a little bit. Maybe if you don't have that quiet that you feel like you need to really do guided imagery, maybe you would like to draw this place so that way you can look at this picture of this imaginary place and kind of seeing it will help you feel like you're there and will help you feel a little bit calmer. So lastly, just want to talk about some takeaways. Self-soothing is a skill that we can use anywhere, anytime, like a lot of the skills that we've learned so far. Don't underestimate the importance of stimulating some or all of your senses. It sounds really simple, but it can be really impactful. There's no shame in self-soothing, even if it feels really childish to you, like holding a stuffed animal, or for me, sometimes I do feel childish, kind of like doing this. I usually do it alone because I'm worried that people will be like, what is wrong with her? But honestly, there's no shame in it. You have to do what you got to do to take care of yourself. And if that prevents a panic attack or something like that, wouldn't you have rather been doing this all that time? And then let's talk about some suggested home practice. Attempt to do some of that guided imagery on your own this week. Notice if there is a decrease in your anxiety level after you're finished. YouTube also has really great guided imagery videos if you're having a hard time imagining things without, having someone talking to you. You could honestly go back to the part of the video where I was asking those questions and close your eyes and answer those questions in your head while I'm talking, but you could find someone on YouTube with a much more soothing voice and going at a much slower pace that might feel better for you. And then lastly, explore some of the other methods that I mentioned in the video. Write down what works for you if you've tried them, so that way you have a go-to list when you're feeling really stressed out. You're probably not going to feel really stressed out and then watch this whole video. Like have a game plan, have some of this stuff ready so that when you are feeling stressed, you can just go to it right then and there and you know that it works because you've already tried it. Again, I just have some resources here that I have at the end of every video on here. If you're ever feeling like there aren't resources on here that are applicable to you, make sure that you reach out to the counseling center, which is listed on here, because we can help you find something that's more relevant for you too. Or if you have any questions about these resources themselves, you can also let us know. And again, I hope you were able to identify a few strategies for self-soothing that are going to be really useful for you right now, especially in these really difficult, stressful times that we're going through. So thank you so much for joining me in discussing this, and I hope I can see you back for video 5.